Back in 2021, when Michael Carrick left Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo posted a message on Instagram. One line stood out. Michael Carrick was a class act as a player, and he can become a great coach as well. At the time, most people did not take it seriously. They thought Ronaldo was just being respectful. A polite farewell. A normal compliment. Because back then, no one was looking at Carrick as a future top manager. He was just an interim. A temporary figure. A man keeping the seat warm until a bigger name arrived. But today, that line feels less like respect and more like prophecy. Because in football, sometimes it is not about the players. Sometimes it is not even about the tactics. Sometimes the real problem is in only one place. The dugout. Manchester City managed just one shot on target against Manchester United. One. And this was the same United side that had been falling apart only weeks earlier. The same defenders. The same midfield. The same dressing room. The same players who were playing without confidence, without structure, and without belief. So what changed? Only one thing. The manager. In just 10 days, Michael Carrick made an impact that no one had managed in 16 years. 36 managers had tried to beat the top two sides in the table back-to-back. 36 had failed. Carrick did it in his first 2 matches. And that is why this story is bigger than one manager. This is a story about collapse and comeback. About confusion turning into clarity. And most importantly, about football finally winning over ego. Old Trafford was supposed to be Ruben Amorim's stage. He was the modern coach, the tactical mind, the system manager, the man with the process. Everyone thought he would lead United into a new era. But the opposite happened. His system was famous. That 3-4-3 had built his reputation. It had taken Sporting back to the top after 19 years. But the problem was simple. Manchester United are not Sporting. And the players he had were not built for that system. Bruno Fernandes is not the kind of player you bury under defensive responsibility. Bruno lives on chaos, on creativity, on those final third moments when one pass can change everything. That is what makes him dangerous. But under Amorim, that freedom disappeared. Casemiro started to look finished. Other players looked confused. And a squad that was already under pressure began to break even further. The biggest problem was not just that the system was failing. The biggest problem was that even when it failed, he refused to change it. Every defeat looked the same. Every draw came with the same excuses. Every press conference was full of ideas and philosophy. But on the pitch, the football was dying. After the draw with Leeds, everything changed. The cracks inside the club became impossible to ignore. Meetings took place, suggestions were made. There was talk of changing the system. And one day later, Amorim was gone. But the season does not wait. Fixtures do not stop. And the table does not care about excuses. United still had games to play. But no clear direction. And into that uncertainty stepped Michael Carrick. The real question was not just why Carrick was chosen. The real question was, what made Carrick different? The answer is simple. He listened. He did not ask for 3 years. He did not demand a full rebuild before doing his job. He did not hide behind long-term process talk. He asked one basic question. What players do I have, and how do I get the best out of them? That is real coaching. In football, many people talk about systems. Many people sound intelligent. Many people explain theory. But a true coach is the one who makes players look like the best version of themselves. Carrick had already shown that at Middlesbrough. He took over a side that was drifting near relegation and gave them belief. He gave them structure. He gave them attacking football. And most importantly, he made players improve. That is not just tactics. That is trust. And the moment he arrived at United, he did not overcomplicate anything. No drama. No unnecessary experiments. No obsession with looking clever. He went with a simple 4-2-3-1. A shape the players understood. A shape that suited them naturally. A shape where every player knew exactly what his role was. 2 holding midfielders came in. Casemiro was no longer left exposed on his own. Bruno moved back into the number 10 role. Now he was receiving the ball facing goal. Now he looked dangerous again. Then came the bold decisions. Dorgu, who had arrived as a left-back, was given a chance on the left wing. If that move had failed, everyone would have laughed. They would have called it desperation. They would have said the new manager had already lost control. But Carrick took the risk. Because he looked at the player's qualities, not just his position. Then came the derby. City were in the title race. United looked broken. Carrick had only been in charge for 3 days. Most people thought the result was obvious before kickoff. But Carrick did not try to simply survive the game. He set the game up on his terms. United dropped deep. They gave City the ball. They gave them possession. They gave them the illusion of control. But the real control belonged to United. City had the ball, but they had no way through. Maguire and Martinez shut things down. The midfield stayed compact. City grew impatient. Frustration started to build. And then United struck. Bruno drives out from his own half. Head up. He sees the run. Slides the ball through. 1 touch. 1 finish. Bottom corner. Old Trafford explodes. And that reaction was not just about a goal. It was about release. It was relief. It was a reminder that this club was not dead. Then came the second goal. The cross comes in. The run is made. The finish is clean. 2-0. And suddenly, the stadium feels alive again. When a dressing room starts to believe again. Football changes. And the most interesting part. We had seen this before. Back in 2021, when Carrick was in temporary charge. United went 3 games unbeaten under him. Ronaldo scored 3 goals in those 3 matches. And against Chelsea, when Carrick left Ronaldo on the bench, there was no drama. Think about that. Cristiano Ronaldo. On the bench. And still no public complaint. Because players know. They always know who is in control. Ronaldo's problem was never high standards. His problem was with people who did not know what they were doing. And against Arsenal, we saw the same thing again. At the Emirates, Arsenal had been almost untouchable all season. United went behind. An own goal. The kind of moment that, under the previous regime, would have caused panic. But Carrick's United were different. They responded. They fought. They played with intent. First came the equalizer. Then Dorgu produced a stunning strike after a quick 1-2 with Bruno. Arsenal came back again. But United did not stop. Then Cunha picked up the ball, turned, and finished with ice-cold composure to win the match. That is the difference. Carrick did not invent football. He did not arrive with some genius tactical revolution. He simply did what was obvious. What was necessary. What the previous manager had refused to do. Put players in roles that suit them. Build the system around the squad. And restore belief inside the dressing room. That is it. This does not mean every problem is gone. There are still injuries. There are still aging players. There are still long-term questions. But for the first time in a long time, it feels like Manchester United are moving in a real direction. The players trust each other again. The fans are singing again. The stadium feels alive again. And maybe Ronaldo saw it before everyone else did. Maybe that message in 2021 was not just respect. Maybe it was recognition. Michael Carrick was a class act as a player. And now, maybe he is becoming a great coach too.